Terrific. Well, thank you very much. I'm Jay Costa. I'm the program director at MapLight, which is a nonpartisan research organization that reveals money's influence on politics. So I'd like to start today by asking you a quick question, which namely is that whether you agree or not with the following statement. If you agree, go ahead and just raise your hand. It's important that the public has access to information about who's spending money to influence elections. Wow, nearly unanimous. It turns out that you're in good company. So 84% of Californians would like to see more transparency surrounding how much money is being spent in elections. And to be clear, that is not a trend that we see just on one side of the aisle. It's actually a pretty cross-partisan consensus. And it's not without good reason. So if we look at the November 2012 election, it actually turns out that there were over $400 million contributed just to our ballot measure campaigns in California. If we look at where that money came from, almost 85% of it comes from $1 million plus donors. There are 54 of those. So 85% of the money going into the ballot measure campaigns coming from just 50 people. When this kind of situation is something that we have on our hands, it is not an unreasonable statement to make to say that now more than ever, people need to know where money is coming from. So here's the problem. Here are the people on one side, and then here's this sea of data that is the theme of our panel. And the sea of data is where the information lives about where the money is coming from. So I'll talk about that in a second, but first I'd actually like to talk about this other thing, which is the treacherous mountain pass that exists between the people and the sea of data. So forget about the sea of data for now, and I'd like to tell you about how this is where MapLight comes in. And we have a closet full of ice axes in our office at MapLight, as well as fishing rods. And what we want to do is basically contend with both the treacherous mountain pass and the sea of data, so that you really never have to get there. You just stay on that side of all of that mess and can get the data that you need. So to start off, I will look at the ice axe and the treacherous mountain pass. So we talked about the ballot measures in 2012. If you aren't familiar with Cal Access, let me introduce you. Welcome to Cal Access. If you are, welcome back. I'm sure it's always a pleasure. This is the treacherous mountain pass that our government has built for us to get to the sea of campaign finance data in our state. So I'd just like to give you a tour of this. I'll be your guide today on the treacherous mountain pass. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on the campaign finance link, which brings me to a sub-menu. So now I go ahead and click on propositions, because that's what I want to see. Now I want to look at something from 2012. Okay. So I'm now looking at the 2012 cycle. All right, so got the 2012 cycle. Now I'm just going to scroll down. Great, I have a list of the propositions that were voted on in 2012. So I'm interested in Prop 37. It was a very contentious ballot measure that was voted on in the November 2012 election about whether or not genetically modified foods should be labeled as such. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm now at the Prop 37 homepage. Great, so I'm going to see what's here. And again, just sort of scroll down. And here's a list of committees that have been formed to support or oppose this ballot measure. So something you just need to know quickly about political fundraising, California and really most places, is that if you want to raise money to support or oppose a ballot measure or a candidate, you need to form a committee to do so. And that committee is what the state monitors. They monitor its financial activity. So I'm just going to pick one of these committees at random sort of to see what kind of data we have available for that committee. So here I am on the committee page. I'm going to scroll down. Great. So now I can actually see the data types that are available. So I'm interested in the contributions they've received. So I'm going to click here. And that brings me to this page, which is great. Now I can actually see some data starting to appear on the bottom of the page. We have one row for every contribution they've received. So now it's actually time for me to pull out my fishing rod and gonna cast into this sea of data. And I get a little prompt here. I can download the file. Cool. I finally have my file for the contributions received. It's time to celebrate, right? Not quite, because actually we have a little bit more fishing to do. But first we're going to have to wrap this up, because we're going to get back on the mountain pass and head to a different bay to do that fishing. What we're going to do now, because of filing requirements, some filings happen on a quarterly basis, but then in between those filings there are other filings that happen if it's a $5,000 or more contribution. So I'm going to go ahead and find those and pull those in so we can get the full picture of the activity of this committee. So again, I'm just going to download that data. I'm going to finish the task. Now I have the $5,000 plus contributions in this spreadsheet. So now I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom of the spreadsheet, click here to select all of it, jump back to my master file, click here to select this cell, and then I'm going to paste it all in. And now I have like all of the data that I want for this committee. So that's awesome. 14 clicks later, I'm done. Hooray. Except that it's just that one committee, and you may have noticed that there are 8 other committees that also support and oppose this ballot measure. So a little bit of quick math, 14 clicks per committee times 8 committees equals 112 clicks. So you probably are sitting there saying, Jay clearly chose the proposition that has a ton of committees because he wants to make a point. Well, no, that's not even the case. Say that we wanted to look at Prop 30. There are 33 committees, which would lead to 460 clicks to get the data that I want for that proposition. Problem being that no one is ever going to do that. So like we've made this data available, right? But who's actually accessing it in this place? Me. That's, but aside from me, not many people. But luckily, people like me and the people at MapLight care about you not having to click 500 times in order to get the data that you need to see who's funding a proposition. So here's where our fresh seafood stand comes in. We built a website last year called votersedge.org. If you go to votersedge.org, you can basically see a home page like this. I'll subject myself to the same click test here. I go ahead and click on the state of California. I'm brought to an index page for California that shows all of the propositions that were voted on last election. Now I'll just go ahead and click on Prop 37 because that was the one I was looking at. Now I come to a Prop 37 page, scroll down, and I have the top 5 funders for and against the measure. 2 clicks versus hundreds of clicks. So, but say like I really want to see more than the top 5. Okay, I can do that too. Go ahead and click on the data, the funding link, come to a top 10 list. I can also scroll down and basically get a breakdown by where the money is coming from. Say that's still just not enough for me. I want to get into the raw data. I can do that too. I do that just by clicking the download link. I get the same prompt, finish it out, have the same file that I got by clicking over 100 times in just 5 clicks. So this is exactly what I'm talking about about not making you go over the treacherous mountain pass to get to the sea of data. But let's also just talk quickly about that sea of data. So, in the sea there are many different types of salmon. But when you go to the store to buy salmon, you probably just want them all roughly in the salmon area of the fish store, right? So pay attention to Kraft Foods Global here. So we actually combined a couple of species of Kraft in order to come up with the Kraft Foods Global total. These are really just variations on Kraft's name. And it's not anything unique about Kraft. Kellogg has a misspelling. Nestle has a misspelling. The whole data file is rife with these variations in names that even if you go through and click hundreds and hundreds of times, then you have to spend a lot of time cleaning the data up. So we do that for you. So this is a good thing. 2 clicks to see top 5, 3 clicks to see top 10, 5 clicks to get the data file versus hundreds of clicks, and it's a lot cleaner than the data that you get in the raw site. But, there are many other fish in the sea. We get calls from journalists all the time asking us all kinds of very specific questions, and the data that we're providing in these summary views is really just a handful of these questions. So say for instance you probably saw Monsanto as the top funder of the No campaign. Well, say that you wanted to see all of the contributions Monsanto ever made to ballot measures historically. That would be a big endeavor. 728 committees over the last decade that have formed to support and oppose ballot measures. That would be over 10,000 clicks. So, things like that cause us to think about at MapLight. What if we just built our own fish market that, with made to order, you can come there, request any fish you want, and we'll get it for you. But first, before we could do that, we would really need to have a boat on the water all the time, which in database terms means having access to a live copy of the Secretary of State's website. Sorry, the Secretary of State's Cal Access database. So we asked Deborah Bone, we actually joined with Sunlight Foundation, with a lot of other good government groups and media outlets to request that they make a version of their database downloadable on a daily basis. Previously, they would give you a bulk copy, but you have to mail away for it. They would mail it back to you. By the time you get it, it's 3 to 4 weeks old. No one wants 3 to 4 week old fish. So we said, if you give us a daily download, that would be kind of awesome. And it turns out that after a bunch of public debate, they said, sure, we will. And they delivered on that promise about 2 weeks ago. They made the daily download available, at which point, being the enthusiasts that we are for government data, we jumped right on it. If you go to maplight.org/California, you can see a tool that we built to basically search that data very flexibly. So I get to the search. It searches candidates by default, but if I click here on committees, I can go to the ballot measure search. Just going to scroll down really quickly and just select my donor field. Type in Monsanto, because again, I'm trying to find out all of their contributions ever. All elections is selected by default, so I'm just going to run that query. It's loading. Now I get my results. Download. Bam. 6 clicks to get you the same thing that it would have taken 10,000 clicks to get to the raw source. Thank you. So the takeaways here of these couple of examples are that the first step to navigating the sea of data is actually getting to the sea. And then once you're there, you actually have to know what type of fish you're looking for, which fish belong in the same section, all of that jazz. Or you can just find a friendly mountain climber / fisherman who's already doing that and is willing to share their catch with you. And I think that we all hope that eventually government is going to be in a place someday where they're providing that service for us. But until then, there are organizations like MapLight, like Sunlight Foundation, lots of people who are doing this work and providing the data for you. And to just give you a brief summary of ours, I talked about our California work, but we also have data for U.S. Congress, California, 11 other states on contributions, bills, votes, support and opposition, companies, interest groups, general voter information, and so much more. So I encourage you to check out maplight.org or votersedge.org and be in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.